Hi, Gateway family. Pastor Jason here. I'm excited about our upcoming sermon series, You Asked For It. We asked you to submit some questions, and you submitted over 140 questions for us to answer in just a 4-week series. We know that's not going to happen. And so what we are going to do is we are going to answer some of the theological questions that you asked during our Basics of Theology series that we're going to be doing at the end of January through February next year. So we're going to be touching on some of those things very soon. And then this next 4 weeks, and as we move through our series, we're going to be talking about a lot of the questions that you asked. And we've tried to group them together into 4 little mini sermons, but topics that we're going to cover. And those are going to be really exciting. But the problem is some of these topics and some of these questions just don't line up together. And so I'm excited because what we have done, I am here together with our pastors, and we are going to try to answer some of those, and then we'll post them for you so that you have a little bit of tidbits, but really also just to see a little bit about what we have coming up in our You Asked For It series and the sermons that you're going to be hearing. And so I'm here today with Pastor Susan. Pastor Susan is our associate pastor. She's coming into that new role. I'm excited for you to be here. And for all that we're going to be doing, she's going to be taking on helping me with a lot of day-to-day operations and running our church. I'm also here with Pastor Carson. He is our discipleship pastor and also covers a lot of our care ministry. And so if you need anything, just especially someone to pray with you, Carson is just that person who is always willing and always ready. And we're so thankful for having you here. And also, Pastor Roland. Pastor Roland is our family life pastor. He is the one who is overseeing our children and our students, but more than that, he even meets with our parents. He meets with our families, our married couples, and he is the pastor in trying to help those parents who, it's hard being a parent. It's hard raising children, especially in today as a Christian, and what does that look like? And so Roland is trying to walk alongside each and every one of our congregants who are going through those struggles and what it looks like to live a life like Jesus, especially as a parent, especially as a married couple. And so we're so thankful for y'all being here as we go into these questions, as we dive a little deeper. And some of these questions will be really easy and fun. And I think some of these other questions, we'll just see what happens. I just want to dive in. I'm kind of excited because I think this is kind of one of those, like a softball question, if you ask me. But I'm just going to ask you guys, who is Melchizedek?
Oh my gosh. Can I take this one?
Sure.
I love talking about Melchizedek. It's like sitting in the corner of your dad's office and saying, Francisco, Francisco. It's just fun to say Melchizedek. And he's such a great guy, and sometimes you don't know who he is. He's sort of buried in the Bible. He shows up first in Genesis, and he meets Abram, who becomes Abraham, as Abram is finishing a battle, and he's defeated the enemy and rescued his nephew Lot among other people. And Melchizedek comes out, and he's this mysterious figure. No one knows where he came from. There's no genealogy. He's not mentioned again in the Bible, like as an appearance. He's referred to later. And he has what looks like sort of the first communion service, but it's way before Jesus has come. He offers bread and wine to Abram and his people. And then Abram does what looks like sort of the first tithing. He gives Melchizedek 10% of the plunder from this battle. So it's just a very brief encounter, but it's beautiful, it's interesting. And then you get to Psalms, and he's mentioned a couple more times. And then you get to Hebrews, and you really get a good picture of who Melchizedek is and why he's there in the Bible. And it's because he's sort of a foreshadowing of Jesus. He's a showing of what is to come. It's just this beautiful picture where in Hebrews 5 you see a little bit, but Hebrews 7 really hits hard. And if you want to know who Melchizedek is, you read Hebrews 7. And it is plain language, beautiful. And the first part talks about how Melchizedek was a king and he was a high priest. So he was both combined. Jesus, second half of the chapter 7, a king and a high priest. How often do you see that anywhere? You don't see it.
No.
This foreshadowing, God's a beautiful literary writer. He gives us so many parallels in the Bible. And Melchizedek's name means king of righteousness. And king of Salem, which he was, means king of peace. And Salem later became Jerusalem. So Melchizedek was actually the king of Jerusalem, what would become Jerusalem. Just isn't that cool? Just all the foreshadowing, the beauty of Jesus later comes out. Some people think Melchizedek was Jesus in the flesh the first time here on earth for us. We don't know. But what a beautiful thought. Could Abram have encountered Jesus before Jesus was born?
Wow.
So, because we don't have any birth record, no death record, nothing. So, do yourself a favor, read chapter 7 of Hebrews and just enjoy the parallels between Melchizedek and Jesus, and how Hebrews 7 in the end comes out and says, like Melchizedek, Jesus has no beginning and no end. Jesus is a high priest on the order of Melchizedek, which is a quote from Psalms. And he is the perfect high priest. He doesn't need to offer sacrifices like the other priests all had to do to atone for their own sins and then atone for the people's sins, and then they could approach God. Jesus is the sacrifice. No more sacrifices needed. Beautiful. And we owe him not a tenth of what he gives us, but all of who we are. So it says here in chapter 7, Jesus has become the guarantee of a better covenant. There's a new covenant with Jesus. There's the old covenant in the Old Testament and the New Testament. The price is paid. The perfect high priest is our road, our path straight to God. We don't need anybody in between. We don't need a priest to take our message.
Amen. Amen.
There's so much more that could be said.
Oh, yeah.
I hope that was, but
You're talking about a person, I think, that made it from Genesis, 14, and then Psalm, 110, and then all of a sudden here we are, and he's showing up again in Hebrews. It must have
in a
been
big way.
an amazing impact this person had on not just the lives that he was in his time, but all of our history.
Right. He was remembered and written about throughout time.
I mean, to be even compared a little to Jesus is pretty amazing.
Pretty great.
Yeah. So thank you, Susan.